everybody, welcome back to Dude Ranch DIY. My name is Jake, and today I'm joined by Jared from RuggedMade.
Hi everybody.
So the guys from RuggedMade came down to the Dude Ranch this time, and we're going to be spending some time together making some videos. And today we're going to start out by doing a little tree removal, and we're going to see how Jared can handle the ground man tasks for the day. Are you up for it?
Yeah, ready.
All right, cool. So I'm going to strap on my spikes and my climbing saddle. We're going to be taking down a black birch tree there behind us, in hopes of getting some more sun to the dump trailer and the little solar panel trickle charger that I have to keep the battery topped off. So without much further ado, let's get going.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
So tell us a little more about what we're going to be doing today.
So today the goal is to get this, it's a black birch tree, and as you can see here, it's right on the edge of the driveway, kind of leads back into the woodyard road. Typically in the fall, both for leaves, and in the winter for snow. This is where I put a lot of the leaves in the snow.
Okay.
Also, as you can see behind us, I have my dump trailer parked back there, and I have a solar panel that I use to keep, a trickle charger to keep the battery charged up. So in the summer and springtime when there's leaves on the trees, it blocks a lot of the sun that gets back there. So it's been an ongoing process. I've already taken down 3 trees in this area, and I'd like to get these last 3 down. So I figured this black birch is perfect size for the 6-way wedge. I think it would make some really nice firewood. And while I have the help here today with you on the ground, figured we could climb up it and get her on the ground.
All right. Well, the woodlot's really coming along. I think last time we were here, wasn't there a massive boulder?
Yes, there was a massive boulder.
It was a narrow choke point here.
Yeah, now it's right there. We got it out, and that puppy stands about 8 foot tall when it was fully out of the ground. The excavator could barely move it, but we managed to get it out of the way.
Yeah, well, it looks really good. It's nice wide access, and I see why this tree is maybe one of the last things still kind of sticking into the road in the way of your trailer, in the way of plowing, and I guess, yeah, blocking light. So
exactly.
So you're going to be climbing this thing today, right?
I am.
So how did you learn how to do that?
Well, climbing was always kind of a thing that I wanted to do. Ever since I was a little kid, my parents had people come and trim the trees and stuff, and I just thought it was amazing watching the guys up there. So it was something always kind of on my bucket list. And then when I was told that I had no choice but to go to college, I figured I would choose something that I was actually interested in. So I went to school for forestry.
All right.
In high school, I worked for a tree care company just doing ground stuff. And when I went to college and graduated, I started out working for a pretty large, well-known tree care company on the more residential side of things, and really got my bearings as far as climbing goes and stuff like that, and then continued on, got my arborist license, got my international arborist license, and now I've been doing tree work professionally for about 10 years. I've been climbing for about 8 of those 10 years, and it's something that I really love. Keeps me young, keeps me fit, and it's not something that you see people do every day, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's why it's such a great opportunity to come down and talk to you about this stuff, because I mean, there are plenty of people who are doing this kind of work, and some of them really know their stuff, but I think it's great that you have that, both the practical experience and that education background, which truly makes you a pro. I see we got some cool gear here. So you can tell us a little more about what kind of gear a pro like you uses when you're going to go up in a tree like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the first questions I always get from a homeowner, somebody walking by on the street, how'd you get your rope up there? So, it's actually pretty simple, but this is a throw ball bag or a throw cube, and as you can see, it's nice and compact, but it's pretty easy, and it unfolds just like that. And what it basically is like a weight bag.
Like some lead shot in there or something?
Yep, lead shot, and it comes all different weights. People have different preferences on how heavy or light they want to throw it. And then this narrow string. Now this string, don't let it fool you. It's small, but it is very strong. Like, you could pull over a whole tree with this thing. And I have about 250 foot of it. And then on the other side, there is another throw ball.
Yep.
So you can work from both ends, and basically you'll see me in a little bit, but you throw it up into the tree, have this come down, and then you tie on your main climbing line, which is in this blue bag here, and that's how you pull up your climbing rope. You don't just take the climbing rope and throw it up. It's much too heavy. So that is kind of where the process starts.
So the technique for that, we're going to see it, but it sounds like it's not like a baseball pitch.
You're not throwing it like a baseball, no. You're actually doing it underhand, more like a granny shot in basketball.
All right.
And again, there's different ways to do it. You can do it one-handed, you can do it two-handed. There's slingshots that guys use for really tall trees.
Nice.
There's air cannons, and now even people are starting to use drones to set these things in really big, tall trees. So there's all different ways. I'm pretty conventional, you know, doing it underhand with two hands. That's how I personally like to do it. So, and then that brings me to the climbing rope, which is here in this blue bag. The rope is very important. Obviously, it's your main safety, so I like to keep it in its own bag. And you know, there's all different styles of rope. This one's actually pretty old. It's definitely used, but it's still in really good shape. Have a carabiner on one end with a spliced eye. You don't have to have a spliced eye.
So this is self-locking?
Yep,
It's got that spring in there.
Double locking carabiner, climbing carabiner, all aluminum.
Okay.
And then, you know, it's basically, this is a 150-foot rope. I keep it all in the bag here. And then that brings me to my actual climbing saddle, which, again, there's many different styles, types, stuff like that. But this is what would, I guess, be referred to as like an open leg. It's more like a rock climbing saddle. Mm-hmm. They do make some where instead of having loopholes for the legs, it's just a bar with a seat. So those could be a little bit more comfortable. Generally, you start out with that as more of a beginner climber, and then you advance to this. This is called your bridge. So this is where you actually attach yourself to your climbing rope, and this is a floating bridge. So as you can see, this floats back and forth, swivels 360, 3 different points of attachment there.
Yeah, that swivel's pretty cool. So is this to reduce the tangling and twisting of the rope?
Right, minimize that. Friction is the name of the game here, both to keep you in the air, but you also want to minimize your friction because it just makes it easier for you to ascend.
Now that bridge, that sliding, is that to give you, you know, the ability to maybe,
yep,
you're wielding a chainsaw while you're up there a lot of times.
More maneuverability, yep. So when you first start out, you can have a D-ring, which is kind of like this, but there would be 2 D-rings like almost attached here, and then you're fixed in, so you don't have that maneuverability to, you know, slide back and forth, which is kind of a little bit more advanced, but, you know, again, all different styles of saddles and stuff. It's just down to personal preference. I really like this one because it allows you more maneuverability. Then your other thing is your buck strap or positioning lanyard. You always want 2 points of attachment to the tree, especially whenever you're, you know, using the saw actively. So this is, I think it's like 22 foot long. And this is what you see guys when they're climbing poles and stuff, they throw it around and kind of flip it up. And this just helps you, you know, position yourself properly, ergonomically, so that you can make the cuts and, you know, be as safe as possible up in the tree.
Now this tree isn't particularly large in diameter. Would you still be using that around a much bigger diameter tree?
Oh yeah, yep. You use it basically on any tree you'd be ascending. You'll see once I throw on the spikes and head up, I'll have my climbing line set as a backup, but basically to get up the tree, you use this and you can just walk right up.
All right.
So then you have your chainsaw lanyard. So this is where my chainsaw physically attaches to. Again, 2 points of contact. So you have it tied off here with this small little ring, and then here to kind of shorten your lanyard when you're not actively using it. Let's see what else. We got a foot ascender, which you can actually put this on your boot. Typically used more when you're pruning trees, or if, you know, your point of attachment is out far and you're not right by the trunk to use the trunk to go up. You can put this on your boot, and you can use your feet in addition to your arms to ascend up into the tree. And again, they make all different styles of these. And then the last thing would be just your handsaw. Always got to have a handsaw. These are crazy sharp. People are always amazed with how big of a diameter stuff you can cut in the time you can cut it. But these always are good to have, get you out of a jam, be able to, you know, grab a rope if somebody's flipping you a rope, and just make things more comfortable if there's a branch poking you in the neck.
Something not worth breaking out the saw for.
Right, exactly. Or just, you know, little pruning and stuff like that, more delicate stuff, where the chainsaw isn't really warranted.
All right.
So that's basically it. And then we got my climbing spikes here. And
yeah, and I think this is part of the part of the work that I think people really love to see pros like you do is just shimmy up that tree with spikes.
Right. So everybody kind of knows about the spikes, or gaffs, sometimes people call them. But again, all different types, all different styles. These work for me. Haven't felt the need to upgrade them or anything. But basically they're both the same, just mirror images. So I got little covers on the spike itself, and that's your spike. So you actually don't want the spikes super sharp, because then they go into the tree too far and it ends up being hard to pull it back out to take your next step. But use 2 of those and it's kind of like a rooster having its spikes.
Yeah, all right, those are cool. So
yeah.
Now, has this tech changed much?
I mean,
yeah, they're doing this for 100 years.
Right. I mean, I think they started out, they were like heavy steel, and now they have them aluminum and titanium and carbon fiber and stuff like that. A lot of the newer ones have like Velcro to make it more comfortable instead of these old leather straps. But I like keep it simple, you know. So these work for me, and you know, you'll see. I'll get up that tree, no problem.
All right, so thanks for the intro to the gear. I mean, this looks like really cool stuff. I think a lot of us get a kick out of all the accoutrement, the tools and gear that goes with the work. But now I think it's time to put it into use. So how do we start?
Well, I'll just saddle up, and I can get well, first I'll show how I do the throw ball and get that set up into the tree. And then I'll saddle up, spike up, and then start climbing up the tree.
All right. All right, so you're gonna use the throw ball now. About how high would you say that is?
I don't know, like 45 foot.
All right.
So yeah, I'm gonna use the throw ball. This is a heavier one. I just prefer a heavier one. I think this is like 16 ounce. And the way that I like to throw it is you take the string, and you see this ring here. I loop it through, so then you kind of hold it like that, so it's doubled over, you know, on one hand and a single line in the other. And I throw it like this, personally. And then what that allows you to do is that when you let go with this right side, it kind of slingshots it and gives it like a little extra oomph, so to speak. The sun in my eye is definitely a factor here.
Well, you're supposed to be a pro. We're working to make this easy for you.
Yeah, I know. There we go.
That looks like you nailed it.
I think we nailed it.
Yep,
yeah.
Right in the crotch.
That's our crotch.
Yeah. Only took 2 tries. I think we'll call that a win.
Okay.
Very nice.
I think we are good. Now I'm just going to isolate it from this side.
It's a sticky one.
We want it on the other side of that branch.
Looks like you're fly fishing.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
There we go.
Very cool technique. It's like a little wrecking ball swinging action.
Yep. So now I'll try and get it over this last branch, but might be asking for a bit much. No, I'm just gonna leave it. That's all right. So now we got this set. Oh, you know what? Actually, I can get this ball to come over that branch. This is why you got 2.
So when you say isolate, are you trying to get it just on the strong branch that's going to be supporting you?
You just want it around your, ideally around your one crotch. So see this last branch that's coming out? That branch, as I come up, would basically be in the middle of both of my ends of rope. So I would either have to cut it off before I could ascend over it, or reset my rope to avoid it. So by doing this, now both ends are just around that one singular crotch. So we could take climbing line, and because we have already found out that it's kind of a tight crotch, we're gonna take the carabiner off, and basically here all it does to attach it, it's a bowline that you tie on here, then you use a girth hitch to attach it to the throw ball itself, so it's nice and quick and easy. So that's off.
All right.
Throw ball's off. Now we're going to use the girth hitch again to attach our climbing line. So we have a girth hitch there, and then we'll just do a couple half hitches to keep it nice and tight.
Now, is the idea to make this kind of a small diameter so it doesn't get hung up?
Small diameter so that it doesn't get hung up on branches. So as you can see there, it's pulling it like basically right from the end.
Okay.
I can even slide this up a little bit. So it's grabbing it right at the end there, 4 points of attachment.
Because if that gets hung up there, that's a bad day, right?
Right. You always have this end to pull it back down, but friction's the name of the game again. So now we'll pull this up. And there we go. Right back, and wow, look at that. Perfect. So here's my climbing system. So we'll take the throw line off. Put the carabiner back on. Now we're ready to climb. So this is basically the climbing system. This is the carabiner that attaches back to my saddle. This is a micro pulley. And this is called an eye-to-eye. So the eye-to-eye is what provides the friction on the rope to hold me up in the air. You tend your slack this way. That micro pulley helps reduce, again, more friction. That way it's easier to pull. And, you know, it holds it nice and tight, just rope on rope. So I can throw on the spikes and saddle and get up in the tree.
Okay, see it.
Safety first. All right, we're ready to go.
good to have you back down on the ground.
It's good to be back on Earth.
So when you're up there taking out some of these limbs, I noticed there was some technique to how you were cutting them. It looked like there were 2 cuts for each one.
Yeah, so when I'm up there and you have limbs coming off that are horizontal or somewhat inverted a little bit, I like to do a cut called the snap cut, which is you make a small undercut, just the width of the bar. You cut about 1/3 of the way through to halfway through, depending on the size of the limb. And then you make another cut on top of that, a little bit in front or behind, depending on the scenario. And basically what happens is that instead of just cutting from the top and the branch kind of peeling down, when you're making that top cut with the bottom cut, it releases on the top, so to speak, and then it comes down, and as soon as that bottom cut closes, it kind of snaps, hence the name snap cut. And the branch tends to lay down or fall more flat, as opposed to coming down tips first or butt first. And a lot of the time it creates less damage to the property because you don't have a bunch of pungy holes, as we call them, with the butts coming down into the grass or the driveway or something like that. The other cut is just your typical box here. So this was one of the tops that I took, and it was positioned on the tree like this. So I came in with my bottom just flat at 90 or straight. Then you come in at a slight angle, like a 45, and you make your directional wedge or box. And then you come in from the back with your back cut, and all of this wood here is your holding wood. So in this scenario, I wanted to steer the branch a little bit to the right to avoid hitting into this oak tree here. So I left more holding wood, as you can see, on the right there, and cut more on the left. That way it would hold and kind of pull the top over to the right more.
Well, it didn't land on me, so obviously it landed where you wanted it to.
Yeah, we got it to go, where we wanted, and that's the name of the game. So you can steer the tree if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, which he does. So now we've got these limbs to clean up. Let's get the chipper fired up and get this mess out of here, and then get to the last step.
All right, sounds good.
So what's next?
So now we're going to drop the stick here, the remaining part of the tree. So this is my climbing line, the red, and this is our pull line, the yellow. You never want to pull over a tree or potentially shock your climbing rope for obvious reasons. So to get the yellow rope up to the same spot where the red rope is, I'm going to tie a sheep bend, it's called. So you make a loop like that, take your other rope, go up through, around the back, and back down. So that's a sheep bend. So now I can pull on the red rope. There we go. Okay. Got a tight crotch up there.
Yeah. Been jamming us up all day.
Yeah. So now we got it back down on the ground. Just loosen this up. Get our red rope out of here. We're done with that. Now we're going to tie what's called a running bowline, and this is a knot that you can cinch down from the ground. make a loop. It's just like a regular bowline. Might recognize that knot, but there's a loop and it's running. So I can pull on this side. And it goes all the way up. Okay, so now we're at the other end of the rope. We're gonna attach it to the grapple of the tractor. To do that, we're gonna tie a bowline on a bite. So you take your rope, double it over, and essentially just tying a bowline on itself. So what this does, this is great for if you have two guys and you want to pull, it's like two handles. But in this case, we're just gonna loop it up over the grapple and around the tooth. Now we're ready to go. Rope's pretty taut. Back up the tractor. I'll make my box, and then we'll have this tree down in a jiffy.
Right where you want it.
Okay, so let's get this puppy on the ground.
Well, Jake, thanks for showing us how a pro takes down a tree.
Absolutely, this was fun.
Yeah, well, some of the things that I found interesting might even seem like the more mundane aspects of this, like to think about the throw ball, this little $30 tool.
Yeah, you know, it's the little things. You have the right tools and it makes the job a whole lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of time we want to talk about, you know, the sexy, expensive chainsaw and the tractors and the chipper and all that cool gear, but just seeing how a little device like that gets your rope up there.
Right, that's what starts the whole process, you know.
And then at the end there, seeing you use the green rope to pull the tree down and all those knots, it really dawned on me how this kind of tree work ties in things like, I know you boat.
Ties in.
Yes, knots, ties. But like I know you do boating with your dad. You've done some rock climbing, all those knots, the harness. It's interesting how it brings together these other worlds that a lot of us who might split firewood and heat our homes with wood. But we also might like boating. Maybe we do some rock climbing. I mean, it just brings so much together.
Oh yeah, you know, the knots are huge. I'm a knot nerd. I find them really interesting, and you know, doing tree work, you use all different types of knots all day, so you got to be good with that. But you know, they help tremendously, just like the throw ball does.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, there's only so much that the new fancy tech can do. You got to know knots, you got to know your ropes, and you bring the tree down, and then what's next for us?
So next, I mean, I think we'll run down the log here with the Mingo marker and mark it out to 16-inch sections. Then we'll cut those sections into like log length, maybe 8 to 10 foot, haul them back to the wood yard, and then we could get, fire up the RuggedMade splitter and split it all up into firewood. All right, Jared, well, thanks for coming down. This was a lot of fun showing you, what I do every day. I appreciate it. And, stay tuned, everybody, for the next video where we process all this stuff up into firewood. So for now, thanks as always for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like the video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, click that subscribe button down below. Any questions, comments, or feedback, throw it down there in that comment section. But for now, I'm Jake.
I'm Jared.
This is Dude Ranch DIY. Thanks so much for watching. We will see you here next time.